to the other channels.
Yeah, yeah, we're having fun with the two Randos United channels. So
Um,
anyway,
Technological difficulties.
yeah, it's just the computers not working the way that they were intended to
Hmm.
because they
Fun.
can't actually read our intentions. Colin, have we ever actually talked before?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, well, hello, I'm Father Eric.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
No. Funny enough, my due date for assignments are usually went Sunday nights. And I'd
Mm,
love to get them done much before this, but I've missed quite a few Sundays
hmm.
instead. Oh,
No,
hello.
you're good. You just
Oh,
won't be able to see for a second.
oh, okay. Um,
Yeah, I can
so
still
I
see you
actually
just fine.
at this time I actually get to join in.
Nice, nice. There's nothing like being ahead on your homework, especially for the Lord's Day. Just saying. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
have
best
the
you can.
exact same problem. My assignments are due on Sundays, and so this Sunday there's no class, so I didn't have to worry about it.
Nice.
Nice, nice. Are you getting all that rain yet, Jacob?
Yeah, actually, it seems to have passed us by. There was a lot of rain this morning and afternoon. On my way back to from church, 3 lanes of the 101 were flooded,
Wow.
which is really surprising because, like, yeah, I guess it's just because it's the middle of the summer and there haven't hasn't been rain in such a long time. But like out in the deserts, they're like they're getting apparently a whole year's worth of rain in one day.
Wow.
Wow.
I heard there
Yeah,
was an earthquake too in
yeah.
like
I,
up in Santa Barbara area.
oh, so
Mm.
I got an
Ohio.
alert. Ojai, yeah. There's apparently a 5, but then I tried looking it up and they downgraded it to like a 2.0 or something.
Oh well, that's
So
Huh.
good.
yeah, but we didn't feel it. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, my friend who lives in Escondido and I were talking about how this might be the day that the prayers of all the Mexican abuelas fail and California falls into the ocean.
Well, it says preliminarily it's a 5.1 in Ojai. So yeah.
It's wild.
Wow.
There has never been a recorded earthquake in North Dakota. We are square in the middle of the tectonic plate. There's been some in Montana. There's been some in Minnesota, but never in North Dakota.
So when I was in elementary school, before there was all the climate um change, like hysteria to scare the kids with, they used to scare us with the big one, the San Andreas Fault earthquake,
Hmm.
and yeah, I don't think they quite understood what it was like as a child with PTSD, going through them constantly telling us, like, I spent my allowance on emergency supplies.
Ooh, yeah.
I shouldn't laugh at that. I mean, okay, I think we can laugh at that, but I shouldn't.
I was gonna say his planning personality started young.
Jacob, I can't. I don't think I can send the link to your channels.
I just did that.
Whoa.
Nice.
I
Okay,
don't know why it did it so many times, but
that's amazing, though.
I
I
was
was
gonna say, are those
wondering,
all
yeah,
different
I was
channels?
wondering if those were all different channels or if it went to the same one like 6 times.
I
It was
think
just
it
a
went
whole
to the
lot of
same one.
Jacob on the right side of the screen there.
Yeah.
One of those should get to Andrew.
Oh.
Wow.
Well, I'm glad that it isn't a disaster yet.
Yeah.
Always a fan of
Well,
people
yeah.
right.
Apparently, it's passed us by. Yeah.
Andrew, it's Discord.
Mm-mm.
Technological issues.
Yeah. I just now realized that what the comments tab beside the private chat tab on StreamYard means. And it's more accurate to say that Colin realized it, and I just never have.
Yeah,
You never
yeah.
clicked on that?
No, I never clicked on that.
I love you.
They're perfect for each other. Look at them. Sandy, how you doing?
Good. Rough start to the day, better end to the day.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
glad
my
you're
alarm
good.
went off awfully early today. It was, yeah. Okay, good. Andrew made it.
Yay.
Let's go.
You didn't get rained out, did you, Andrew?
No, blew open my balcony doors a couple times though. Yeah.
It blew them open.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Ooh, wow.
Holy mackerel.
yeah.
Yeah.
First time in a while we've gotten rain here, so
Yeah, yeah. The highway was flooded. I guess if you're not used to all of a sudden getting 4 inches of rain, you just don't build your infrastructure to handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like the Pacific Ocean has that many hurricanes that travel up to California. Like that's a freak weather pattern right there. That hasn't happened since the 30s.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, this is the first
Wow.
in like 80 years.
Oh.
Now
See,
it
I grew
wasn't.
up with hurricane stories because my family's from the East Coast. And I guess I never thought about how they don't happen that much in California.
Well, they basically like when they form in the Pacific, they have to go straight north to get to California.
Mm.
That is the only path because, and most of them are just kind of going northwest and go
And they'll
out in the
just peter out
Pacific
somewhere
and
in the middle of the ocean.
inconvenience some whales and oil platforms or something. I don't know. In the Pacific shipping lanes.
We don't have
Where
oil
is-
platforms out here in California, you know.
Have a monsoon every day during the summer, followed up with fall hurricanes. No earthquakes there, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm realizing I had it pretty easy. I want to say boring, but like I grew up in Ohio. There's not really tornadoes, earthquakes, fires,
Occasionally there are
snow.
tornadoes.
Well, there's sirens, but I coming down to Illinois was weird because like in Ohio you hear a tornado siren, you kind of shrug and keep what you're doing because it's never going to be something big. You'll hear it, like there'll be something on like the news saying where it's like go, but it was always just like clouds are swirling, And then Illinois, I was like, there was a tornado warning that went through, and I was like, okay, and went back to typing, and someone came to my office like, move, go to the basement, and it's like, oh, fine, jeez,
Oh, we have to care.
I don't care.
Okay.
So Ohio is just boring. We don't have anything. It's simple and easy.
Yeah. The Ohio Turnpike is about as boring as driving across North Dakota.
Yeah.
It's very efficient. It's just you just go. You got 3 lanes the whole way.
It has
They
pretty good
charge
rest
you
stops
for it
too.
though. They got a lot of the I don't know when I was there. So I drove the Ohio Turnpike to and from Washington D.C. this summer.
Oh, gotcha.
So now I have opinions. First off, like
Everyone
welcome to
develops
Ohio.
opinions about the Ohio Turnpike because it's the only thing to do during the 4 hours you're driving across Ohio.
Welcome to Ohio. That'll be $30, please. And then, but yeah, a lot of the rest stops had closed down kiosks that there were no shops there. Didn't
That's
have a
rough.
Panda Express or anything. Anyway, had to eat Burger King like a peasant. But on our
when
way
I was
back
a
from
kid.
Drayton tonight, I stopped at Arby's
Oh, nice.
and got a roast beef sandwich with horsey sauce. And my sister, who's the manager there, gave me a discount. So
Hey. Yeah, when I was a kid, we would drive from Michigan to Massachusetts. And so we would leave at like 3 in the morning because then you can get a good chunk of driving done before there's anyone else on the road and all the kids wake up. So we would stop somewhere in Ohio for like breakfast and like waking up stuff. So I am acquainted with Ohio rest stops.
Jacob, question for you.
Yes, sir.
Is Arby's horsey sauce kosher?
The horsey sauce itself, I think, actually is.
Okay.
Like it's just horseradish. There's no actual horse in it.
No, there's no horse in it. It's horseradish. It's like basically a horseradish mayonnaise.
Yeah, like there's no reason why it can't be kosher. I don't like. I'm checking right now to see if it's certified kosher.
Is there?
I doubt it is.
Did you just have another earthquake there? You were shaking.
No,
around?
that
Okay.
was my.
It was your dog. Okay.
Yeah, she decided to lean up against the thing. Yeah. So.
Okay. As dogs do.
And how come Arnold Palmer's aren't kosher?
It's not that Arnold Palmer's aren't kosher. In fact, there's an OU right there, so it is certified kosher.
Oh.
I didn't know whether it was, and then I didn't actually know you brought cans. So many people, many Orthodox Jews will not open a can on the Sabbath because when you open a can, what happens is you create a new cup.
Mm.
Oh, that's
And yeah, and so
I love it.
Many Orthodox Jews will not open a can of anything on the Sabbath.
Means you can't crack open a cold one with the boys on the Sabbath, huh?
Not if it's in a can. If it's
What
in
about
a bottle,
what about a 40 that you're splitting?
if it's in a bottle, it's fine.
Well, depends how the bottle's made, but if it's a cap that's put on something, then taking the cap off doesn't create something new. This was never an actual cup. Opened it.
Now it's
Yeah. Okay. I
New
can see it.
thing. Yeah,
But what if
and
the-
what's prohibited on the Sabbath is creation.
Oh.
Ooh, I like that. Okay. I think I've heard that once before, but reminders are fun.
It becomes a very strange thing when you start getting into halachic stuff because like
Mhm.
you can do some things which are like I used to walk like 2 hours in the heat on the Sabbath not to take a car because I couldn't work, and it's like they're like, well, you're walking for 2 hours. That seems like a lot more tiring. And what we have to explain is, no, we don't believe God actually got tired on the Sabbath during the 6 days of creation and rested on the Sabbath, like because he needed to get his strength back. That makes zero sense.
Mhm.
We believe God stopped creating on the Sabbath. So there are all kinds of creative work which is prohibited on the Sabbath to Jews. Yes.
Makes sense.
And then every 7 years you
You have the
Let things-
you have the Shemitah. Yeah. And that's actually practiced. Last year was Shemitah. Last year was the 7th year. So the people who are very religious and own a farm will actually not plant their farm on the 7th year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
and there's all
hardcore.
there's all kinds of charities to help those people out so that they don't feel like they have to plant on them.
Interesting.
could they rent out their land for a year and let the Gentiles plant it?
So that is the big debate. So the chief rabbinate of Israel says that that's fine, and that's what a majority of the farmers actually end up doing. And especially the religious Zionist camp really dislikes that idea, and so that's why there are the charities to help people not keep their land and not plant it.
Okay, now I only heard the Christian view on it, but I always thought that the every seventh year on the it was to let the land rest, as in also the land should not be creating anything. But how do you stop land from creating?
You don't.
I mean,
you don't.
yeah.
There's always volunteers.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But yeah, so it was the planting that's the stuff.
That's interesting.
And apparently horsey sauce is not certified kosher.
How sad. What about mayonnaise? Is there like Jewish mayonnaise?
Most of the things that most of the things that you would assume are kosher, and you will like look on a package of Best's mayonnaise, you will find an OU there, because like certifying that it's kosher is really, really simple, and they pay a tiny amount. Like they pay, I don't know, a few $1,000s, and then they get to say that all of their mayonnaise is kosher, right? And they get to put that on. So it's like less than a cent per whatever. When it becomes a problem is when it's something that actually requires like to do something. For example, you're not going to find a lot of kosher cheese. You're not going to find kosher anything that has meat products in it. And so that stuff, like, that's when it matters. And that's the type of stuff that you actually end up. But so most of the people who look for kosher symbols on food they buy are not Jewish, they're vegetarians.
Interesting. Yeah, okay.
And many of them are actually Muslims who just want to make sure there's no pork in there. And like, I think like number 3 is actually religious Jews who keep kosher.
So you went up to quite a large market. Okay.
The vegetarian market is definitely the biggest thing. So, for example, until a few years ago, until 10 years ago, so Ocean Spray Ruby Red Grapefruit Juice. It wasn't kosher because in order to get that nice ruby red color, they used it's called red number 9 or something, and it's made from grasshoppers, which aren't kosher. And there aren't a lot of Jews who actually care about ruby red grapefruit juice, and it's not a huge market, but a lot of no pork, no gelatin is but there were a lot of vegetarians who were like, why isn't Ocean Spray Ruby Red Grapefruit Juice kosher? And the answer was because of the and and so eventually they decided to change the dye that they were using to a kosher dye, and I believe now it is kosher.
Yeah, I imagine in that case, the having to explain it is not going to go well for your business. If no one asks questions, it probably won't be a big deal, but you have to keep going well, there are grasshoppers in this, and it's all over the place. But once we had to deal with it.
Yeah, it's red number 9. That's all it says.
Yeah.
Made from grasshoppers. Alrighty, learn something every day, huh?
So, when they say natural cherry flavor, squirrel testicles.
I've heard similar things about raspberry flavor and beaver testicles.
Who?
Look,
Is
if you're
there
hungry
a
enough,
bar?
Colin, if you're hungry enough,
Is it no? That's not the thing. The logistics. Do you have like a squirrel farm? What would it be? Is it like a forest? That's too complicated to get the squirrels.
You just put squirrels in cages, Colin. It's not that hard.
I mean, that's true, but like,
They're not like
squirrel
free
farms.
ranging these squirrels.
That's true. I don't think anyone's gonna be concerned whether or not they free range the squirrels.
Wow.
Our
That's
cherry
right.
flavor is free range. What?
I mean, it's kind of like that that perfume that's super expensive that's made out of whale vomit, right?
Isn't that like all of them?
Well, the really expensive. I'm sure you can get cheap ones that are made out of some
No.
industrial compound.
Well, there is that one coffee too. One particular coffee is like the most expensive coffee in the world. It's like $2,000 for like a cup of coffee, and like the very specific process of it is like a particular monkey eats the beans and poops them out, and that's what they collect. And it's
How
like,
do you know this information and not me?
you know what? In this particular case, I can't remember exactly where that was. I think it was something to do with like a project on coffee.
Because
In,
that's very much
in
the
high
kind of
school.
information that I would know.
It's in India, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, this might be like the squirrel testicles thing might be a rumor I heard because I just tried Googling it and I couldn't find it. But I don't trust Google anymore, so I don't
they
know.
silenced them.
It's-
I don't know. Grim Grizz
Go.
confronted me with it at Chino, so I don't know if that's a more reliable source than Google, but
Go to DuckDuckGo, the official search engine of the Catholic Church.
is it really?
No, but
I was gonna say.
a man can
neat-
dream,
What?
can't he?
I mean, I prefer DuckDuckGo.
No, the official search engine of the Catholic Church is Control F on Vatican.va.
Yeah.
So I tried to find the Catholic Church's official position on penal substitutionary atonement. So I searched the Vatican.va website for penal substitutionary atonement. And all I could find was some priest explaining that it was too incoherent of a doctrine to be labeled a heresy.
Nice.
Okay.
That's always a good sign.
No holds barred.
Probably some old school Jesuit of the 19th century came up with that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember talking to Colton and Gus on BOM about penal substitutionary atonement. And they said that in order to believe in it, you have to believe in total depravity. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, well, that's a no. And so if those two are correct, and couple of cage stage reform bros, like they probably got that right. That's a no. So there you go, Jacob. There's your answer. You now are the local expert on the Catholic view of penal substitutionary atonement.
I can never keep all the different Protestant views straight.
Yeah, I'm
It
trying
just-
to find.
They just mush together
thing
for
again.
me.
Do you know anything about Saint Anselm, Emma?
Heard of him?
Not much.
He's the teacher
Okay.
of Aquinas, I think.
Well, basically, if you were to do like a Chat GPT summary of Cur Deus Homo, it would probably come up with penal substitutionary atonement. That doesn't actually help you because you're not familiar with his
That
works.
sounds
but
like a roast, though.
a roast?
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
You just roasted.
penal substitute. I did.
Yeah.
That was on purpose. Yeah. So anyway, but it's like they'll claim Saint Anselm came up with it and they'll attribute it to him, but like he was doing this medieval stuff, man. Like he had all this speculation about why there needed to be the perfect number of people in heaven, and the
Oh, is it
reformers
someone?
just weren't doing that.
No.
And you see, Jacob, that's why human beings were brought up into heaven, because of the fallen angels. They no longer had the perfect number in heaven, so God was restoring the perfect number of heaven.
That sounds like a very limited number of people get to heaven.
Or a lot of demons fell.
Yeah, or
True.
that.
Thing to ask if this has any relationship to the 144,000 that are
Nope.
allowed to. Okay,
Nope. That's
not related to him in any way.
I'm always amazed that somebody could ever take anything in the book of Revelation and try and map that literally onto history. Because it's obviously super symbolic, just layers and layers and layers of symbolism. And somebody's like, yep, Gog and Magog, that's Russia and China. That's how it is. It's like,
Well, especially a number like 12 squared times 1,000.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that's not a symbolic number at all.
It is funny though, because as a Protestant, there was a lot of like, you did take things much more literally, because it's like, oh, the people like the Catholics are the ones that like twist things and all that nonsense. And becoming a Catholic, it's like your truth does not need to be historically factual. Like that's a particular type of truth. And that was very interesting to kind of look at and consider and such. So because I'm the thing here, like I probably would have been like weird, but maybe.
yeah.
But I wasn't a very knowledgeable Protestant.
So you started out Protestant. How long have you been Catholic?
2 years.
2 years this Easter, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you
Person
became
to the left
Catholic
of him
like
had a
months
lot to do
before we
with
got
that.
married. What'd you
When
say?
a lazy guy reach for stars in the sky, you can bet that he's doing it for some doll. No, there's this guy on BOM that's talking about, driving 6 hours every other weekend to go see his long distance girlfriend, and I'm like,
Yeah.
odds are 12-7 that the guy's only doing it for some doll. I was in that show in
I
high
think
school, so I've got it. Oh,
I haven't
no.
actually.
It is not what we sing
I
in
haven't
church.
actually seen it.
Oh, Paul's here.
Yep.
Phonetically, I don't know what to refer to him as.
Pastor Paul.
Pastor
Got it.
Paul. I even call him Pastor Paul because I'm all about titles. Dr. Vervaeke, Dr. Peterson, Peugeot. He doesn't have a title. We should get him. He needs to just become a deacon already. I can call him Deacon Peugeot.
That would do it.
Yeah.
Paul
That would
is
be
trying
nice.
really hard to make me give my money to YouTube, which I refuse to do. But like he keeps on, like when he first was getting money from YouTube for people joining, it's like, okay, I'll join for a month and Paul will get the money. And then that'll cost YouTube money and I'll be satisfied with that. But now Paul is still putting content behind the paywall. And while I'm willing to send money to Trinitarians, God have mercy on my soul, I'm not willing to send money to YouTube.
Doesn't he still get some money from YouTube though? For having members?
Well, yeah, but
Not Jacob's money.
He gets
But not
70,
the same amount.
He gets 70%. I already send the man a check in the
Don't give
mail
money to
every
YouTube.
month. It's not a big check, but like I send a check every month to a Trinitarian church. God have mercy on my soul. And like that's not good enough. Like not only does he want to make me fund Trinitarianism, he wants me to fund YouTube.
And Trinitarianism.
I'm telling
At
you,
the
the
same time.
man is trying to corrupt me into
Into what? Who knows? Who knows?
one of these
Maybe
days
a
I'm gonna
Trinitarian.
believe in penal substitutionary atonement and then yeah.
I
Also,
don't
Pastor Paul, I might be the only person who the one really tempting video to sign up for your YouTube channel is the Kindle Scribe review one.
Paul, you're not a real
Dun, dun,
Calvinist.
dun.
I'm not allowed to say that, am I? That's not Calvinism.
Did you see my video? Paul, why Paul Vanderklay is Catholic?
I've
Yeah.
heard of it.
I made the most
watched that one,
beautiful thumbnail for that one. Do I still have that picture? Let me see if I can find that picture I made.
That was,
It was
a
a
fantastic
beautiful picture.
thumbnail.
That thumbnail was yeah. It was
You
one
just
of my
gotta put
best
him-
works.
You put a miter on him, right?
He
I took his
photoshopped
picture
his
and
face
put it on. I think it was Paul
over a
the Sixth
pope.
or something.
All the
Yeah.
six. Okay.
Yeah.
Should have gone with like Pius V back when popes were allowed to have big beards.
Oh, here it is. Let me see if I can open it.
Just DM it to me on Discord or something. I can throw it up.
I can put it up.
Can you?
Yeah.
This is my stream, Jacob.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
what
you're
everyone
gonna
was
have to
talking
put.
about.
add it,
Oh, I
but-
see. That's
yeah.
how it works. Oh yeah, he's still got the triple
Oh, my
crown
God.
tiara on.
Yeah.
That's Pius the 12th back there, I think. The Pius the 12th glasses.
It's spectacular.
Peace out, Paul.
Uh,
Yeah. Good old Pius the 12th. Yeah.
Yeah, that was part of everyone's discussion of how I fumbled trying to convince him to become Catholic.
It's
I have a terrible or a dumb question for you, Father Eric. So,
Okay.
Jacob's got me going to weekday mass because I work every weekend, which means I'm not getting out to church very much. And he also said I don't have to sit in the chair. I can go to the front if I want, just kind of going like that, right? If I don't want to, is that going to be like kind of creepy for them if I do that every week? Or
No.
won't care? Okay.
no, I mean, so I don't know your priest, and like every once in a
do
while
I.
you get some wacky person out there who's doing stuff, and I don't understand it. But most priests, it's like, oh, I should actually talk to this person. They keep on showing up.
I've been 3 or 4 times. We've done the kind of silent nod
Mm-hmm.
in the vestibule or whatever it's called in the Catholic Church.
Yeah, and it does depend on how you process in and out. Because some places, if you're going straight to the sanctuary in a daily mass, you're not going to have much contact with the priest unless you go knock on his, go in there. But I'm a fan of actually saying hi to people after mass, at least most of the time. So
Do people come to confession who aren't Catholics?
I'm sure, yes. I'm really not. So, fun fact:
had a couple
I can
times.
give Orthodox people communion, confession, and anointing of the sick pretty freely. Now, their bishops will tell them not to come get it, so it's kind of moot point. But I could. Our practice is that we think we've got enough communion to manage that.
That's the direction it goes. Okay.
Yeah,
I always
it's a
forget
direction.
which direction it goes.
Yeah, just remember the meme, right? Are you two friends? Catholic, yes. Orthodox, no. So yeah, I could do that. In danger of death, I could give absolution to any baptized person, because the salvation of souls is a supreme law of the church. And then if somebody comes in and says they're not Catholic, but they just want to confess anyway, I'll be clear that I can't give them absolution, but anything that they tell me will still be under the seal of confession. So
Yeah, we've had it a few times where I work at, so it's about exactly right. You just my priest would just simply let them know, like, hey, this is a confession, but I'm free to hear what's going on with you and to pray with you and so forth. But it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So how does that function? I'm baptized Anglican, semi-raised Presbyterian and spent most of my time in the Calvinist halls.
Mhm.
Learning all about depravity and punishment.
Mhm.
But what is absolution? How does that function compared to anything I would have heard in those three?
Sure, sure. So the Catholic doctrine is that, baptism saves, um, but we have to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. And we can fall away from God's grace. We can commit sins that make it clear that we don't want Him a part of our life. And the Lord is not going to force Himself upon us. And so if we do that, He's going to withdraw at least his presence in our souls. Now he doesn't. Good news is he doesn't stop chasing after us under those circumstances. He'll call us back to him. So when we do that kind of an offense against him, the ordinary way back to him is confession through a priest. And when you receive that absolution, you're reconciled to God. Yeah. So
So is the priest's role there similar to you should really have a witness to something you do, or is it simply the whole mediator? There has to be a designated mediator kind of idea that.
yeah. The idea is that Christ is the minister of all the sacraments, and I will stand in his place while we're doing that. So I would the phrase is in persona Christi Capitis, in the person of Christ the head as the minister of the sacrament. And so yeah, mediator, that'd be a good way to describe it. I mediated the presence of Christ with my frail humanity.
So you
Somebody's
think
gotta
you're
do it.
Jesus? Is that what you're telling us?
I do. Yes, unironic yes. In a very limited capacity. Yeah. So
Well,
Well,
stuff like- Yeah.
well, and sacraments have real power. They're not just symbolic emotions. That's also
yeah. It's this curious phrase that Aquinas uses, is that the sacraments contain God's grace.
There's a lot of
Things
things.
that would make your mother
I was-
die instantly.
I was gonna say there's so many different things I'm thinking right now, because I've tried to make a lot of my wave of conversion was a lot of essentially arguing vehemently with Emma, and being like, I don't understand because you're pretty much a heretic, and I don't, so on and so forth.
Our
and so it's been-
dating relationship just involved a lot of arguing about a lot of different things.
That's
it
wonderful. Actually,
kind of
that's
way.
wonderful.
Not like a majority, not like a majority.
No, but like way more
But there were some pretty intense fights. Purgatory was a big one. But so it's kind of funny because since my conversion, there are things like that where I try to keep little reminders, because I'm just not used to looking the kind of perspective shift. So like with confession, Emma once had a great analogy. I'm sure she's repeating something, but like the marriage analogy of going back to Christ and having that mentality of, if I do something really bad as a husband and we're like not on talking terms or something, I don't just show up the next day and act like everything's fine, right? And so things like that where I keep that reminder with that. And with In Persona Christi, I have a fun one where when the priest walks by in procession, I always bow, which I have no idea that throws him off. I really hope I'm like doing it when he can't see necessarily, because I feel it'd be like weirdo right over there.
I think it's an aggressively trad cat practice, to be honest.
Oh, good. Okay, I just look
Yeah.
like a track cat then. I'll take it.
I haven't done any of that like half kneel bowing thing because I'm like, okay, so if I go to Catholic church and they want to, ask me who am I, where What have I attended before, and what? I don't know if that'll weird them out that they've got some Protestant just if it's copying because
That's how we got Scott Hahn.
what?
Scott Hahn was a Presbyterian minister, right? And oh gosh, I can't remember the full story, but he was studying the book of Revelation, and he ended up in like a basement chapel somewhere in, was it Philadelphia or
Something like that, I think. Well,
Yeah,
he
he-
also wanted to walk through the Gospel of John with his congregation, and he got to John 6, and he was trying to figure it out. He was like, "This is not looking good for the Presbyterians."
What's
And
in
so
John
anyway,
6?
The bread
it's
of life discourse about
chew
the-
on my flesh and drink my blood, or you will have no life in you.
about the
You're looking to pick a
Eucharist.
fight. That's a good
Yeah.
one. That's a good one to throw on down again. Wow.
So anyway, he is this Presbyterian minister. He goes and he starts attending mass, and like his first mass, he sits down and he's like, "This is the book of Revelation, right? The Lamb of God on the altar, the myriads of angels gather." And this was like some cheesy daily mass liturgy in like a basement chapel. And eyes open. So yeah. So anyway, point is that as long as people who just randomly show up at church behave themselves, keep the house rules. It's public. It's public worship. 100%. It's public worship. And so we're not the early church. We don't have the discipline of the secrets now, where we kick all of the catechumens and non-believers out. So
like some Orthodox churches still do, supposedly.
yeah, and there's an argument for it, right?
Yeah.
But that hasn't been the practice of the church for centuries now, so it'd be kind of hard to bring back.
They had a secret component.
Yeah, so you probably, if you've been to a few Catholic masses, you've got the portion that's kind of the readings and the homily. That's called the Liturgy of the Word. And then they set the altar and celebrate the Eucharist. That's the Liturgy of the Eucharist.
Yep.
And so kind of in the early church, it was the Liturgy of the Word was open to maybe not the public, but was open to catechumens and inquirers and those sorts of people. They could hear the word preached. But when they got to the Liturgy of the Eucharist, that was for members only. And we're talking like first 5 centuries. So by the time you get to medieval Europe, and in medieval Europe everybody's Catholic, they just stopped doing that because like there might be a few random Jews hanging around, but otherwise everybody's Catholic. So
And the random Jews would only be going when they were forced to go, which did happen.
which did happen. Yep, that was Renaissance popes forced 200 Jews a week to listen to anti-Jewish sermons. I don't think it was very successful.
You might say it was
Like-
anti-successful.
It was probably anti, because that would tick the heck out of me, and I would just be like, "F these guys." So
Well, so a funny thing about the mystery thing also is I've kind of picked up watching this. Next time you get to that part in the mass, kind of watch everyone. And what I've personally seen in my experience is you will find maybe not a majority, I'd say often a majority, but a good chunk of people will have their head down like the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought it was really weird, other than when the raises up, head up. Although I've seen a few people that keep their head down even for that. And it is interesting because I've started to do that more. Where before it's like, no, I want to see what he's doing. It's pretty interesting. But there's a natural pull to like, this is something intimate and significant and powerful, and that was kind of the reasoning as to why you would make it mysterious. Is there's a component here that's different, you know?
candle
So
lights down, candlelight, throw some incense up there.
Nice.
you guys recognize
That's
this?
the analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I know where you're going with this.
But no,
That's
You know
Spock,
what this
yeah.
is?
That's
This
Spock.
is Leonard Nimoy
Mhm.
made this a famous thing.
yeah,
And if you go to Jewish synagogues, you will actually see there are cemeteries. You will see headstones with this symbol on them, and the names of the people with that will usually be Cohen, Katz, Kagan, or some variety of that, because during a certain part of the service where there's the priestly blessing, the priests, the priestly caste, they cover their hands with their prayer shawl when they do it, but they hold their hands like this when they bless you. And so you're not supposed to look. And I have yet to look. And supposedly, if the priests are doing it correctly and you look, you might just go blind.
Mm.
But Leonard Nimoy, as a kid, was told not to look. And he looked. And so when he became Spock, he started using it as his little, what is it? Live long and prosper?
Live long and prosper.
Yeah.
Peace and long life.
Yeah.
I photo myself.
But in that episode of Star Trek with the fried egg monsters, he did go blind.
Might be. No, I have to tell it. So Leonard Nimoy also put out a book of his photographs, which were, and he called it Shekinah. And the front cover was a naked woman wearing phylacteries.
Huh. Sounds like a real pious guy.
Yeah. That wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the
other
fried
weird
egg
thing
monsters.
about that- so the other weird thing about that is I was reading this website on sort of Jewish women and which of the laws you have to follow, and they were talking about what the is it the fringe? What are the tefillin? No, what are the
Yeah,
fringe?
that's the phylacteries.
The
Yeah.
phylacteries that whether you have to wear them or not as a woman, and how it.
Most people will say women are not allowed. And I would pull up these pictures of, but even the front cover is too obscene to pull up. So
What? Have you seen Galaxy Quest, Jacob? And Father
yes,
Aaron?
I loved Galaxy Quest.
I was assigned it as homework for the first day of class tomorrow.
Oh, it's a funny movie.
What?
It's a funny movie.
No?
I thought you said you had to watch the same.
No,
thing
I said
over.
I've watched it a bunch of times because my family likes it. And Ilsa likes it.
Okay.
The
I've
fried
never seen
egg, the fried egg monsters. For your
Clearly, you didn't show up
viewing
to
pleasure.
Sci-Fi.
It's true.
Those
Yeah.
those are fried egg monsters.
Yeah, 100%. I almost left the studio there. Don't do that, kids.
Haunt my dreams today.
This is your homework for tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I did it today while like baking stuff. But I was like, I have to watch this movie again. Not that I don't love watching it. There's just something about being assigned a movie that's like,
Is this graduate school?
this is a lot of time. Yeah, I have one of those like hip new professors this semester who tries to make things like relatable and fun. So we watched Galaxy Quest, and we're going to talk about imposter syndrome in academia.
This is for your Greek?
This is for my, what's it called? What's the official? The official title is something like Graduate Skills in Classics.
Ooh. Fun.
That's
Another
a
earthquake,
good sound.
Jacob?
I actually I made it stop so I didn't actually get to read it. Yeah, I had an emergency with it.
Emergency, you live in California, leave immediately.
Looks like it's a flash flood warning.
Uh,
Yeah,
Run.
yeah. So not because of the flash flood, but I am actually going to go. Thank you very much for everything. I will stop the stream on my channel so everybody else can go to the Randos United channel or Father Eric's channel to watch the yes.
The randos. The randos. Good night, Jacob.
Good night.
Shalom.
right.
Okay.
Oh, let's get out of here. I don't like that. It's good
No.
for 4 people, but not for 3. 3 people, you all can have a full box. On me. Well, Sandy, as much or as little as you want to share, you've been going to a few daily masses.
Yeah, usually, yeah, not the not the same time every week, dependent on my work schedule. Although most Tuesdays they're 7 p.m. They do them for the half hour, and so most Tuesdays it fits in before a music event I've promised to also go to,
Mm-hmm.
which is much harder to go to than the mass. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
so no plans on jumping into Catholicism. I'm still trying to deconstruct my all of my brain spaghetti from yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes time.
And I'm really well, and it doesn't feel right because I joined the CRC when we moved to Acton when my son went in the deaf school, because they don't honor the Anglican anything you did anywhere else. You have to do it in the CRC.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really think about it because I was already, like in my head, I was just angry they made me do it. It's insulting in a way. But at the same time, now looking at it, I'm hanging out a lot around Jacob's channel because I want to know more about the Judaism and I want to know a lot more about Judaism. And as I'm listening to people, I'm sort of one of those that are struggling with the whole Trinitarian and penal like the whole shebang. And I'm like, why on earth did you say yes to the church? I loved that church I was in. I missed them terribly. I'd probably go back if I moved back to town, but I wouldn't. But if they canceled my membership when my ex told them to cancel his, I would just go. Same as I'm doing with the Catholic Church, because that seems less out of sync or something, like, because I'm kind of like, it's not their problem. I have questions,
Okay.
And I don't have questions of God. I just that's the weird thing is I've spent my entire life in Christian church and suddenly gone, I've never actually really prayed to Jesus, and I don't pray to the Holy Spirit, even though I hung around with charismatics, and I don't pray. To me, I pray to God. Just God is God. And yeah. And there seems to be a deep resistance to me in doing, like, as the Jewish are saying, to break him into parts and to pray to the individual parts. I'm kind of like, well, if I'm worshiping God, there's no reason not to just keep praying to God. So yeah, I'm kind of in that zone. But
Okay.
But I've quite enjoyed going. It's a very simple service, and it's kind of nice because I recognize components of it from years and years ago in the Anglican. There's certain patterns that are similar. Yeah. I was going to tease Paul Vanderklay because, like, they don't sing anything. there's no singing the
Daily.
parts.
Daily.
Not on a Tuesday, we're not.
Except this past Tuesday.
This past Tuesday, yeah, was a big feast day, and so there was plenty of singing. Well, actually, the mass I didn't have any singing.
Ooh.
I didn't have any musicians, but it was still lovely.
There's
That's good.
is there musician? There's a piano in the back of this church, but there's no musicians. He just, if we sing, we sing. I don't think I really. I'll have to pay attention next time I go, but I don't think there's any instruments
Okay.
during the weekday ones. I haven't
Usually-
checked out the Sunday one anyway.
Yeah, usually, so there's this idea of progressive solemnity. So some days are more important than others, and we honor that with putting in the music and all of the fanfare. So the daily masses, unless it's the Feast of the Assumption or something like that, going to be pretty laid back. We're
Yeah.
doing this every day. We just need to keep things moving right along. Which is different than the Orthodox, because I don't think the Orthodox ever invented a low mass without chanting. That's a Western invention right there. So,
Okay.
I do hear from a lot of people they like starting with the daily mass if you're not used to things. A lot less to try and memorize with all the different things you do. So, the other thing is, I forgot to mention earlier, but I work at a church, and it's not that uncommon to see people come in, especially like not receive the Eucharist. There's quite a few reasons why you wouldn't, and so people get blessings, but that's not, you don't have to feel bad about like I'm going to stand out. And I know when I was like in the process of becoming a Catholic, I loved getting a blessing personally. I was a big fan of the cross arm, although ever so often I had to be careful. I realized I needed to be where the priest was.
Yeah, you can't take
Because
that to a
ever so
Eucharistic
often I would go to a
ministry.
deacon, and the deacon would just like, or like even like a lay person, like with the Eucharist. There you go, extraordinary minister, and they would just look at me like, I don't know what to do.
yeah.
And like I think they will like remember fast enough and be like, God bless you, and it's like, I'll take it.
Yeah, the problem is that entire practice is customary. It's not regulated by the liturgical books at all.
Okay, so
And it's mostly an American thing because we don't
What?
want to leave anybody out. We want everybody to come forward and get something,
okay, so here's the weird thing about it. When I went up, I was walking up, and like you and I talked at Chino, that if I joined you guys for the early morning thing, and that's the first thing you said to me is like, but I can't give you communion. And I'm like, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But this priest, when I walked up, I shocked him because he was getting ready to give me the bread or whatever the wafer. I don't remember which one they use. I'm assuming it's a wafer, but and then as I got up there, I had my arms crossed, and he sort of dropped it quickly and went, oh, and and then said a blessing. So I'm like, why would he have been going to give me one? He doesn't know me from Adam.
Because he's running on autopilot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially I see it, you also see this. My priest that I work for, he's got a little bone to pick with the Eucharistic ministers ever so often because the training needs to improve. But it's you're holding, as far as we're concerned, you're holding God, and so you're really focused. Of what I've heard, you're really focused on like you don't drop it, you don't get they have their mouth open, get it in the mouth.
Well, I hate to
And
tell
so
ya.
my guess is like when you walk in, the first thing he's looking for is like, okay, does she want on the hand? Does she want the mat? Okay, how am I going to do this? And it's like, don't need to worry about that. Got it.
Yeah, 100% it was. And, like Catholicism's a global thing. At a daily mass, I've had like people from Texas come to daily mass, right? They show up, they stand, they sit, they kneel, they present themselves for communion. I'm like, well, they're probably Catholic, It's like we're not checking membership cards on the way in. So, and Sandy, you are in a daily mass crowd demographic.
Yeah.
So it's like he sees you there. He probably thinks you're from the parish across town or just visiting, and you go to daily mass every day. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's my perspective on things.
Well,
Oh.
I'm grateful for their, they're within walking distance, hey Trey, and it's good. It's kind of nice to take that 5-minute reflection, just walking there and back. Nice.
Very good.
Oh wait,
Very
I
good.
find it kind of funny. My background actually was technically Anglican, predominantly charismatic beforehand. So I got little bits and pieces, and a little bit in college, Calvinistic, only
Yeah.
for a couple of years. So
Well, except
Okay.
Vineyard is also based on Calvinism.
Wait, were you
Yeah.
Vinny?
yeah, Vineyard.
Oh, I posted some stuff in Grail Country this week because they were talking about some Jesus People movie that's out,
Yeah.
and just sort of discussing the who knows what. So I mentioned a friend of mine from my Bible study group when I was a kid. They had at the Anglican church, they had all the kids there, and then they ran a coffee house once a month, and they would do stuff. And the Bible study leaders, their kids and all their kids' friends in their age group were part of this band that they had. And I said, yeah, and one of them, he was actually helped to start up the airport. And I get across the Toronto airport, so I shot them a picture of the guy I was talking about. So yeah, like that. Kind of like that was my initial Bible study experience in my teens.
Yeah.
And when we were actually going to a little United church, my uncle was a lay minister in the United church, and so when it got closed because the town took their road allowance back. So my girlfriends from high school and I, we were looking for a church, and then the one girl comes up to me in school. She goes, oh, guess what? She goes, I found a charismatic Anglican church we can go to. And I went, excuse me, you found a what?
Yeah. My grandfather is the bishop.
He's a retired bishop.
Bishop Ames was the Anglican church, and he's a charismatic Anglican bishop.
There you
And
go.
that always throws people off of like, what?
No, I'm totally there. I get that.
Yeah.
Just trying to imagine somebody in an ecstatic state speaking in tongues and incensing the altar. Can you do both of those at the same time? Is that safe?
If you ever want to see a really well done high church charismatic, Christ the King in Ann Arbor is like exactly what you'd want to do. True. But they're charismatic Catholic. They do it actually very well. It's one of the only times I haven't been uncomfortable with it.
When I was in seminary, I went to seminary in Detroit, Michigan, and looked at the Diocese of Lansing vocation poster. They had about 30 guys, which was good numbers for a place the size of Lansing, and half of them were from Christ the King in Ann Arbor.
That's correct.
Which is
Sounds
absolutely.
right.
I've heard that story a
And
couple
most
times.
of them probably went to Father Gabriel Richard High School,
Which is where your mother works.
which is where my mom works and my siblings go.
Alrighty. Very cool.
Yeah, that's actually, whenever I mention charismatic Catholic, if they know Christ the King, they'll bring up that story, and it's like, yeah. So they'll be like, hey, they're making priests.
They're making priests, man. They're making good priests too. I like just about all of them. They were friends,
In the group I hung out with, we just basically assumed that all the charismatic stuff in our area came from the Catholics. It was just kind of.
What's on your mind?
Hey, Phil.
Oh, hey.
Any thoughts to
How
share?
you doing? Actually, I have a question. I've been going through the Lectio Mary program on Formed, and there's something I learned that I did not learn in RCIA. Is that Mary committed herself to be a virgin all her life before she met Joseph, is what the guy is saying. And that Joseph knew about it and agreed to it. And I don't remember hearing that in RCIA or anything.
So that would not be a binding doctrine, I don't think.
Okay.
It would be so you can look at maybe we'll look at the Bible here, because the Bible is also a Catholic book.
Yeah, the Bible as a Catholic.
It's also-
Yeah.
I want one
Alrighty.
priest one time to say, "Everybody, pull out your Bibles and turn to."
Yeah. Share screen. Share. Okay. Sorry, I'm down to one monitor right now, so things are a little complicated making this work. Alrighty. So let's set the scene here. Can y'all read that?
Yeah.
We've got the angel
Yes.
Gabriel. The angel Gabriel coming. He says, "Behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus." Now, at this point in time, Mary and Joseph are legally married. They haven't begun living together. So it's like you would get married, and then a year or so later, the bride would actually go live with her husband. This was, I guess, some kind of legitimacy thing, right? Making sure that the kids are legitimate. So Gabriel says,
Really giving him time to build a house thing.
and maybe that too. I don't know. I'm not a first century Jew, so these things aren't quite as immediate to me. Gabriel says, in the future tense, behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son. So, Emma, let's imagine that you're engaged to Colin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And an angel comes and says, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son. What are you going to assume?
Cool. This is gonna happen in like a year.
Yeah, right. And it's going to be Colin's child,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I get a little preview here, right? Mary says to the angel, "How could this be? Since I have no husband." I think a more literal translation would be, "I have no relations with a man." No, I know not man, right? I know not man. So, what Dr. Petrie does in this in that series that he's doing is he pulls in a verse from some verses from the book of Numbers about a wife taking a vow, and if the husband says no, you can't take that vow, then the vow is void. But if the husband knows about it and doesn't do anything, then the vow is considered binding. So he looks at that and says Joseph would have known about Mary's promise, and since he didn't do anything about it, then it would have been either the father if it's a maiden, or the husband if it's a wife. They can overrule that. So anyway, that's the way that he explains all of those verses together. So that's not something I think you would find in the Catechism. That's more some I think good biblical scholarship.
Yeah, just never heard it before, so it was surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Quite surprising. Yeah, it puts a whole new spin on it. That's for sure. And then makes me think: are there couples, are there husbands and wives out there in the Catholic world doing that right now?
So a part of some other things you maybe wouldn't have learned in RCIA is something about the Proto-Evangelium of St. James. It is not in the Bible. It's never, but it's an early 2nd century document. We've got manuscript evidence and other external historical evidence that makes that early 2nd century date very probable. And it's an account based on the memoirs of St. James, who would have been the son of Joseph, but not the son of Mary. And it goes through this whole thing about how Anne and Joachim were an elderly couple who had never had children. They get visited by the angel Gabriel. And Gabriel says, you're going to have a daughter. And then the daughter got taken to the service of the temple. But when she became a teenager, she couldn't be in the temple anymore because of temple purity laws. And so they needed to find a guardian for her. and Joseph was a just man, and he was taken to be her guardian. And when he finds her with child, he's like, "Ooh, I don't belong here. This is above my pay grade." And which is why the angel Gabriel says, "Do not be afraid, Joseph. Not do not be angry, Joseph, because those are actually two different things." And and then he takes her into his home and is the chaste guardian of the chaste bride.
I have a question.
Yes, Emma.
Is that where the Lily Staff story comes from, or is that somewhere else?
That might also be the Lily Staff story. I'd have to I've only read it once because it's
I
it's
should
a
read
really
it.
cool book. Yeah. So anyway, that's the fun thing is that the opinion of the church fathers about the perpetual virginity of Mary was based on the Proto-Evangelium of St. James up until the time of St. Jerome. And St. Jerome didn't like that document, and he said that when the Gospels talk about the brothers and sisters of Jesus, that just meant cousins, which is probably an apologetic line that you've heard before.
Yeah.
And so I've actually switched from the Jerome opinion to the St. Proto-Evangelium St. James opinion because of its antiquity. So yeah.
I feel like modern apologists tend to prefer apologetic lines that you don't have to rely on apocryphal texts for.
Right, because we're arguing with Protestants and they're like, that's extra biblical. Yeah, so's a lot of stuff. So's actually the majority of stuff. The majority of everything is outside of the Bible.
Protestants have a problem with something being extra biblical?
Yes, Andrew. I know this is a shock to you. I know that you're young and learning many things. So I'm glad you could learn this from me. Yeah.
Well, it makes arguing with them easier.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
Did that help, Philip?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I was just going to say, if you're new Catholic, you want to learn stuff, forum's a really good spot for that. If you get tired of all the other videos around this space of the internet, then.
And are you getting that through your parish?
It was through the one I was formed at in Dartmouth, but I could get the same one here in Truro. So yeah, it's all free. Plus, most forum videos I find you can find on YouTube. I shouldn't say most. A lot of them you can find on YouTube anyway. Because it's not like they're putting them behind a paywall, really. So,
yeah, and that all comes from the
Augustine Institute.
The Augustine Institute, which is like it's like a fruit, 20 years down the line of World Youth Day in 1991 in Denver.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like John Paul II shows up, and all of a sudden, great stuff just starts happening in Denver. It's just even. Oh, there's this video, right? So there was some shenanigans at that early 90s World Youth Day in Denver. They had this Stations of the Cross, and they had Jesus played by a woman, which is definitely shenanigan. Right, yeah. So that look on your face, right? And so there's this famous rant on EWTN cable television. Mother Angelica.
Famous Catholic rants.
Yeah.
Through the ages.
And Mother Angelica just goes off for about 15 minutes straight.
Oh, I believe it.
How ridiculous that was. And it was just like this like coming of age of EWTN where, this big, World Youth Day extravaganza is being taken on by this nun who's filming cable television out of a garage.
Funny. I still haven't met a nun. I've been a Catholic for like a year and 4 months, and I still haven't met a nun yet. I hear they're around somewhere. I met two Franciscan brothers. They're out having a smoke hotel, and I thought they were either Jedi or Franciscan brothers, and they're Franciscans. So,
well, nuns are usually cloistered, right?
all sorts of nuns. Depends on what order they're a part of. A lot of them are cloistered, so you won't see them very much. Yeah, it's the sad thing is that especially women's religious orders have absolutely collapsed since the 1970s. Just like a precipitous drop.
So, is it talked about why that is?
I mean, I could talk about it.
That's-
Please.
Basically, they dropped their habits and dropped their traditions and took on a really bad program and ran that program all the way into the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. I remember a little while ago, I met someone wearing a habit at the cathedral, and I thought, wow, I met a sister for the first time. That's pretty cool. So I went home and told my mother about it, and she said, no, that's not the first time. You remember Sister Pat from when you were young? And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess her name was Sister Pat, but she wasn't wearing a habit. So I had no idea. I thought that was the first time I met a nun.
The uniforms are important. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them drop their
Visibility is
habit.
important.
Like, if you don't get to wear the veil, what's the point?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's part of the reason that you just ain't as many as they used to be.
Mhm.
And a lot of them that are still around are quite old.
Yeah. I'll meet one someday. I know there's a place in a town about 2 hours from here. I don't know if it's in a monastery. Would you still call it a monastery if it was nuns? I think
Yep.
they're Augustinian nuns.
Wow.
I just
Okay.
found that up because I was just looking up stuff about holy wells because there's different holy wells around here in Nova Scotia.
In Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
anything holy come from Canada?
You know, we're still like normal. We are like most of us are still normal. It's the online stuff and I mean it's real what's happening, right? Like it is real
Right.
what's happening, especially with all the death stuff, like from abortion to euthanasia. That's just disgusting.
Mhm.
But most people just live their lives and they're normal. This part of the country, anyway. I mean, I live rurally, so that helps. Yeah,
It does help.
yeah.
Well, if you really want to meet like a religious sister or a nun, I see them pretty often either at the cathedral or at very special events like ordinations. So
Okay.
if you go to an ordination, you might see one.
Honestly, just if there's an ordination that you should get to, you should just go to it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple ceremony.
I would love to see one.
Yeah.
Is
Good
that
stuff.
when
Yeah.
priests become priests? Is that the ordination?
And deacons become deacons and bishops become bishops.
Okay. There's a guy that just left our parish to go to seminary in Toronto. His
So
name
it'll
is
be
Gordon.
6 to 8, 7 to 9 years.
Yeah, well, I can wait. Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. There's been 4 from our diocese of Halifax and Yarmouth going, and I guess that's the most that have gone in like decades. to become
Oh,
priests.
cool. Okay.
Yeah. I know at least 2 of them were atheists like 4 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That is cool.
It's you bring it in the companions of the cross to fill in the parishes there, huh? And they're starting to bear fruit. I mean,
Yeah, Father Alex is gone, by the way. Your old buddy
Okay.
there from, I think he's back down in the States again. Yeah.
we'll take them. We're maybe not quite as shorthanded as you guys are up there in Halifax, but we're plenty shorthanded. We're no suitably qualified candidate will be turned down.
Yeah.
We'll just say that.
Yeah. We're getting a lot from India now, priests coming over from India and stuff.
Nigerians.
Nigerians. Yep.
Yeah.
I got to get to,
I'm getting a lot of
I'd love to get to a service sometime with Nigerian. There's
No, they're
one
Tanzania.
I see online quite a bit, very lively. Like
Yep.
sings during the homily, like just beautiful.
This is, I mean, Nigeria is so crazy on vocations right now that the National Bishops' Conference has said we have to limit ourselves to 12 ordinations a year for our diocese because like we can't support as many men as want to be priests as priests.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
the
we're
guys
like
were like were
anything.
real serious about it and like I have a call to be a priest. I've got to do it somewhere. They're going to Europe, they're coming to the United States, they're going up to Canada
Mhm.
because they're
Yeah.
just Nigeria is full of priests and sisters too.
Yeah. No, I love it. Like Nova Scotia would be pretty homogenous, like Anglo-Saxon white forever and ever, but we used to like have programs to try to get immigrants to come to us, but they would like for a few months and then go to Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, right? But now they're staying. Like there's enough jobs around here now and positions to fill. So it's been good for our parish actually, for a lot of people coming in.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of Filipinos and like people from Africa, yeah, East India, Sri Lanka.
Mhm.
It's been great. Yeah, yeah, it's really good to see.
I
us
mean,
all
it
around.
sure has changed the parish potlucks, right? Like all of a sudden you're going from Swedish meatballs and sausage to like curry and who knows what else.
Yeah, they had a Filipino night about a month ago at the church. I didn't get to go to it, but that was pretty cool. Yeah, Filipinos are everywhere. I just love them. Lovely people. It was funny in Chino when I went to the Catholic church there. It was like 80% Filipino in this church, and after the mass, they were selling like rosaries and stuff outside to support the Catholic Women's League.
Mhm.
And she was Filipino and got talking to her son from Nova Scotia. She says, "Oh, I have a cousin in Halifax." I was like, "Of course you do. You're Filipino."
Large families, lots of cousins.
Oh,
Cousin.
that's funny.
There you go. Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that the Catholic Church is bringing the multi-ethnic and diverse dreams of Justin Trudeau to life.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of families. And I know we'll be getting more. But it's hard for them up here, right? Because a lot of them say like their grandmothers are still back home. So they have nobody to take care of the kids. And there's really tough rules on daycares here in Nova Scotia and Canada. Like that's through like the federal government. They basically want to hit, I shouldn't say they want to. It seems like they want to make all daycares federal
Mm.
so they can
Sounds
teach
right.
them.
Mm.
I know that sounds conspiratorial, but
No,
Nah.
okay.
look, my flavorings of conspiracy theories are welcomed here. And like human beings in a bureaucracy want control.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's not even a conspiracy. That's not even a revelation. That's just a Tuesday.
Yeah. No, it's good. There's a
There's
lot of them
Monday night.
joining the Knights now too, the Knights of Columbus at the church and stuff. So yeah, hopefully I don't know if it'll work, but maybe daycare at the church could work somehow. Although I know the church doesn't want it directly connected. They kind of have to have it like to protect themselves legally and all that.
Yeah, something for the lawyers to work out. Actually, the first church I served at as a priest had its own daycare, but this is in America where you could just start a daycare with dreams and
guns.
about 20 grand. Yeah. Dreams,
It
guns, and
depends on
money.
the
Yeah.
state, though. I feel like some states have very strict daycare rules.
Well, we say that living in Illinois, yeah. Chicagoland.
Chicagoland.
yeah.
Another place I wouldn't want to live. Nothing personal.
Don't
Chicagoland
recommend.
mostly. I think the
Hey.
rest of Illinois I can handle.
The rest of Illinois is remarkably normal and just as fed up with Chicago as everybody else. But I'm not here because I dreamed of living in Illinois my whole life or anything like that. And I plan to leave. as soon
You're
as
moving
I
up here to North Dakota? Is that what I'm hearing?
I might. Hey, if University of St. Mary has an open classics position when I
Yeah.
graduate, I'd be like right near my grandparents.
Do you have grandparents in North Dakota?
I have grandparents in Bismarck.
Oh, well, you would be right near you wouldn't be near me, but you'd be near your grandparents, and that's probably more important.
Technically, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a
good-
university in Fargo?
North Dakota State University.
Okay.
I'm sure they
I'd
have.
rather teach at St. Mary, but you know.
No, you should rather that. St. Mary's is amazing. Monsignor Shea's a badass. I want to be Monsignor Shea when I grow up.
Yeah, I was reading something with that, and it occurred to me that like they probably need a Latin teacher sometimes.
Yeah.
Probably
No,
wish
seriously, I showed Mark a Monsignor Shea talk, and he didn't have any criticisms.
I didn't know that was even possible.
Yeah,
I'm glad you
100%.
shared that talk. That was a really good one. The one from the convention. I think
Yeah,
you were at.
yeah.
Yeah. And of course, I asked my pastor in like Halifax. You know, I was saying I was watching this video. He was like, "Oh yeah, I met him. I know him." So,
Yeah, he's just another one of the boys, you know.
yeah. Father James knows like Bishop Barron, and he knows like Shea, and he knows all kinds of other people I mentioned that I think is really cool. And he's like, "Ooh."
Look, like there's all sorts of people that be like, "Oh, Bishop Folda," you know, here in North Dakota, and it's like, yeah, I spent 8 hours in a car with him this weekend, so
Less exciting after that.
Yeah.
he took a nap. Yeah, he took a nap. He checked his email.
Cassius.
I told him what I thought about a few things, and he said, "I'll take that under consideration." It's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. One cool thing about living in Illinois is we're in the like you could call it the birth diocese of Archbishop Fulton Sheen, where
You're
his
in Pe-
remains
yeah.
now
Yeah. Well, outside
Are-
of it, yeah. If we got to make a
well, we're
pilgrimage
in
to
the
Peoria.
diocese of Peoria.
Yeah.
We're not in the city.
Yeah. We're nearby. Yeah.
Emma knows what I'm talking about. You'll learn, Colin.
You'll learn.
Dioceses are more important than municipalities, obviously. It's like, oh, you're in Bismarck, right? Well, actually, I live in Beach. No. You're in Bismarck. David Kagan's your bishop, all right?
That's what matters. Actually, I now think that everyone should make a pilgrimage to their cathedral
Nice.
at some point.
It'll take me about 2 minutes.
Yeah. Because it was just really good to like see the cathedral and realize that like
All the relics.
this is the center of the whole area.
The relics were cool.
The relics. They have a whole relic room
Including
at Peoria because I
Fulton
guess one of the
Sheen,
previous bishops just like collected relics, and
Very
so anytime a church like didn't want theirs, he would just take them. So they've got like 3 cabinets of just random relics.
Nice. Love that.
I did actually make it to the my diocese's cathedral, but it was very soon after seeing the cathedral in Rome. So I saw that one first.
Oh yeah.
Did you actually get to go see St. John Lateran then?
Yeah, we saw all the basilicas.
Okay, good. Because that's actually
Yeah.
the Cathedral of Rome, not St. Peter's.
Oh,
Yep.
well, I did see it, whichever one it is.
Yeah. And that's the background. St. John Lateran's the background of the intro to the Sunday night open mic.
Oh, I thought that was
No.
St. Peter's.
Nope. St. Peter. It's like a 9th century mosaic in St. John Lateran's, and I love it because Jonathan Peugeot would look at that and say, "Oh yeah, that's good art right there. That's good." It's maybe not his style, but it's like
Well,
the symbolic
it's
language is
9th century,
recognizably
it's
ancient Christian.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
it's pretty cool.
Seeing, and then they've got, I'm sure in Peoria, they've got a proper cathedra.
Yeah.
Nice. The bishop's chair, or only
Nice
the bishop
carved
can sit.
chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I-
did they
I wait for
actually-
a second.
Did they put the seal above it? The bishop's
Yeah.
seal? Yeah.
You mean like the coat of arms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got that big. Nice
I think it's
and
like on the
displayed.
back of the chair, technically, not like.
Yeah, it's a
above
very
the
tall chair.
But
Mhm.
which is kind of funny to me.
And they just changed it because we got a new bishop like a year ago. So like we went on a tour and everyone was talking about how they like changed all the
3
seals.
years ago, you know, you're
No,
probably
he
right.
became our full
That's right.
bishop
That's right.
last year. For a couple years before that, he was like assistant bishop, learning the ropes before the old guy retired.
Coadjutor
I'm,
bishop.
I'm not used to it because we work so close with the whole thing. So you hear
It's
like bishop this, bishop that, and it's like, oh, no.
So I think Bishop Tolka was doing like most of the stuff for more than just the past year. But for the past year, he's had the official recognition of being the guy who does all the stuff.
It is funny
Yeah.
though, because second he's actually bishop, he's like, all right, you know, let's just cover all the things that are like not very fun, and we'll just knock them out at the beginning. So it's like, all right, we need to look at what parishes are going to stay, what parishes are going to go. We're going to do this new way for like ADA. It's like, I get it, you know, blitz them in the beginning, and then we can call it good. So I always thought that was hilarious.
Better than trying to be popular and then
Yeah,
having to deal with a whole bunch of logistical things later.
Yeah.
So I got to listen to a little bit of the show on my drive home from work today, and Sandy was saying, Sandy, you're going to mass every once in a while? Do you
Yeah,
find-
Jacob
you find-
talked me into it.
do you find them friendly there, or have they had a chance to be friendly to you?
No, because I'm just basically hiding out in the last pew and
Okay,
then leaving.
yeah.
You need that space in the back. You need that space in the back to just let people kind of.
Hmm.
It's a good place for some perspective. You get to see what other people are doing and, you know,
It is.
how
Yeah.
things go down. So, yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I would always sit in the front because I would save the back for people who were kind of unsure or who were running late. And I'm just not typically running late because I had that
Mass.
military mentality drilled into me that if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late. So
I thought you were going to talk about the what, 96th percentile conscientiousness?
86th percentile. I'm actually higher in open, according to Dr. Peterson's test. I'm actually higher in openness than I am conscientiousness,
Interesting.
which makes me a man of great division, right? Because on the one hand, I want to change everything, but I also want to keep everything the same way.
You're the kind of person we need around here, though. Because you want things to work and make sense, but you're also open to new ideas.
Yeah. I'm trying.
That
Oh,
test.
are you
is
having trouble
evil.
getting over here?
I don't like that test. I avoided that test forever, and then my wife, who doesn't know Dr. Peterson from a hole in the ground, found this test from this guy named Dr. Peterson, and it's a couples test, and blah blah blah. And it's basically the same.
And he had a Valentine's Day sale.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we got it.
So I end up doing it. I'm like, okay, yay, I'm friendly. Basically, I already knew that, and I like 11th percent in intellect. That's not good. It explains why I don't understand what I'm listening to all the time.
His test is a little bit punchy. It was funny to me.
100% understanding is overrated. All of my best work I haven't understood. Right? It's like
Noted.
I remember one time, I was a deacon. I was newly ordained. I was in a parish for Ash Wednesday, and I'm like, all right, you people are going to get it. Just going to let you people have it, right? This is good. This is bad. Don't do bad. And here's enough specificity so that the adults will understand what I'm talking about. And the children will continue to be bored. I was very good at it. Alrighty. So I'm like, I want people flocking to the confessional, right? That's what I envisioned.
Yeah.
The next day,
For 3 weeks.
no. The next day, a woman comes and talks to me and says, "Father, your homily was amazing. Like I felt like you were talking specifically to me." I was like, "Interesting that you would say that. Go on." I was like, "Yeah, I've recently divorced my husband, and everything that you said was bad was things that he was doing, and hearing you articulate that, no, that's sinful behavior, no, that's bad behavior, and you need to repent, made me feel sane again, because I wasn't getting gaslit by him anymore. I'm translating what she said,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And I was like, that wasn't what I was shooting for at all. But praise the Lord, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I couldn't have possibly planned something like that. I couldn't have possibly understood the effect I was having there. But it worked. It wasn't me, somebody else. And yeah, so understanding's overrated. It causes
That's kind
most
of-
people who have it more problems than solutions. So
Yeah.
That's kind of the rule I have is I remember when I was just converted, or converting, and I was going to my mother's church because I was visiting. And I don't take the communion and so forth, but I still go there after mass and such. And I have any sort of change like this, you get the freshman effect, which is like you just go to college, you hear all this new stuff, and you have to be like, I know what's going on. You don't understand. I understand. Freshman effect is hilarious. You'll always see it, like, regardless. So I had the heavy freshman effect. And I'm listening to this pastor that I don't normally like that much, anyways. I'm like, this is watered down. This is horrible. Like, why? This is just a bad sermon. And I'm like, this isn't the right theology. Number one, because obviously I know that better now, and you're doing it simplistically, and it's made for the masses. The whole on here, and I'm just sitting there like annoyed. And he says something, I can't remember what it was, and it was just like wait, what was that? Like that's incredible. I never heard it that way. And I just remember like a very heavy like feeling of just like, yeah, he's not the one talking, so listen up, And it's like, okay. And so I have a rule, like, no matter how boring the homily is, you listen.
Yeah. Yeah. Love those moments.
Oh yeah.
Those moments. Yeah. Really cool. Yeah.
I don't know if it's allowed in Catholic Church, but I did it anyways because I'm always doing it. I made like 1,000 notes the first mass I went to. Because when I'd sit and listen to the sermon in the Protestant church, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm writing down what not necessarily what they've said, but what I heard, So I was kind of like, oh, I want to look up this verse. Oh, I want to do. Oh.
yeah, Sandy, that's allowed.
Yeah.
Some would say
It is?
Golly, like if I had somebody sitting there taking notes, I'd be like, yeah, that's right. What I'm saying is important, all right? You better be listening and taking notes and indexing these notes and reviewing them frequently, because my material's great.
Well, that would probably help me pay attention. It just culturally, it feels like such a Protestant thing to do, and it does not feel like a Catholic thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I remember when we were in Hillsdale, one of your churches, I think the Methodist church, like handed out little outlines.
Yes,
of the
I
sermon
love that
with
guy.
space to take notes in them, and I was like,
You understand? They
"What
were
is
amazing.
this?
He
This
did,
doesn't make like. Why would you do
it
that?"
was incredible. He had like three or four pages, like small text notes, and they were the best sermons ever here. Just great stuff. And he'd spaces in there, so like you'd follow along, and I was like, it would work. I'd be like, I heard it, and like he'd emphasize it a little bit louder, just so, like in case you get it. Like the kids would be like, "Yo, boy," it's like that man's a genius. The amount of work is stupid. Like I'm looking at it, I know it do, but it's like it was very positive. Like filling the thing. That was pretty funny to me.
It was like
Make sure you hand in your essay next Sunday you come, so it can be graded.
I'm sure one parent, there's at least a few parents that are just like, you don't have those down. I know you weren't listening. Well, it's like I'm sitting in mass right now, wonderful ADHD mass, and I'm just like, oh crap, it's still the homily. Which other thing is like 15-minute homily versus like 45-minute sermon.
I could never.
I was so weird getting used to it, where it's like, especially Father O'Brien has a funny thing. Or no, is it Father? One of the fathers does this, where like almost as he's finishing the last word, he'll stop and walk off. And so it's so abrupt that I'm just like, wait.
Oh yeah, he's like, we are getting this done.
So
Yeah.
I was thrown off by that because I'd be like, is it done? Is it over? Oh, okay.
I actually
And
have
now
a
I'm
really
already-
hard time knowing, like, I know when to land. I just don't know how to land. So I've done that, like, abrupt, I'm out of things to say.
Everyone out here speaks and moves slower than my extremely Irish American pastor
right.
in Massachusetts. So, like, my perception of Mass has never been the same since growing up in that parish. Because he just said everything so fast because he just talked that way normally. Like, it's not like he sped up for Mass. He just talked incredibly quickly all of the time. So he could fit like half an hour worth of material into maybe 20 minutes in a homily. And then he would like, and that we go to the creed, and you just cruise through the whole thing and you're still out of there in an hour.
That's great. I'd like to see Sammy try to take notes with that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be insane.
She actually lit her paper on fire.
Yeah. No, it's sweet of you to ask though, Sandy. I asked the same type of questions when I was like sniffing around the Catholic Church. And it was mostly on Discord, and Father Eric, thank you very much, would answer was like, yeah. Of course it's okay like to fast on Friday if you're not Catholic. Okay, just wanted to test it out, see what the Catholics are up to. Oh, this stuff works. I'm actually more thankful than a lot of other things. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the great things is that, heaven will now be better than it would have been otherwise because of everything we have to go through.
Yeah, the contrast between eternal life and the kingdom of God and, well, this. Actually, I have very little to complain about. Like, I've got this lovely wood paneled room.
Yeah, that actually looks like a very nice place.
and like I'm at this built-in desk with these built-in bookcases, so I don't have much to complain about here. And
Yep.
you guys wouldn't believe the chapel at the bishop's house. That's where I'm living right now, is at the bishop's house. And in the 1930s, Bishop Minch, who later became Cardinal Minch, the nuncio to Germany after World War II, brought in a probably starving German wood carver, because it was the Great Depression. And believe it or not, the Great Depression was much worse in Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this guy carved like a big crucifix, a bunch of reliefs, the Stations of the Cross, all hand carved wood in our little chapel, the altar. It's just,
You
and
should take
I get,
pictures.
I should. There's one on
You
Facebook.
don't have a phone that. You don't have a
Yeah,
phone that.
you remember my hipster. I've been thinking actually about buying a digital camera, like it's 2005 all over again.
Like my grandma.
Yep. 100%. Your grandma's got it figured out.
Probably not wrong.
Do you mean like a digital camera like one from the early 2000s, or
Yes, but with a little more storage and higher fidelity. But
Yeah, okay.
like a standalone device instead of smashing the entire universe into one device that fits into your pocket. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, that does kind of help things, I guess. I just figure they're better quality anyways, because no one would buy it if it wasn't.
I don't know. I
Right?
just it would be nice to actually have a camera versus. Okay, I have a picture of the Bishop's Chapel on my Facebook timeline. So if you're wondering if I seem a little disconnected, it's because I do want to show it to you, but Facebook is not useful in actually finding it. So anyway, you guys find something to talk about.
Pictures.
I got a story if anybody wants to hear it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so about 3 weeks ago, I was at a different parish because I was away. Went to the parish nearby. This is like just about an hour away from my normal parish. And when it came time for the communion, they had the priest and the deacon, and then two ladies on both sides. And like, you know, when you're at a new parish, you're kind of figure out how like they line up and everything. So I was lining up. And I noticed people were taking the body of Christ from this one lady, but everybody was passing by the other lady. I'm like, oh, they really do not like that lady at all. Like, what's going on? And then one guy stopped and he took a sip from the cup. And I was like, that's the blood of Christ. This church has the blood of Christ, because I've never been in a church, because I'm a new Catholic. I've never seen
Right.
it
And you
I've
came
never
in during
seen
COVID.
Yeah.
during COVID. And I was like, I get to have the blood of Christ. It's like, okay, calm down. It's like,
I love the symbolism of it. Oh, you get that
Yeah.
little bit of alcohol on the tongue, and it's, you know, the what is it? Blood of Christ inebriate me, Anima Christi. Oh, you got the whole thing. I love it. I only get it when I go to Ann Arbor because Christ the King is very big on that. But nowhere else has, and I was also COVID Catholic, so it was like, you know, I grew up Anglican, so I got it from there. But it was, you know, now that I believe the Eucharist, it's like
Different.
whoa.
Yeah, it's so funny when you get used to one church also when you go to another Catholic church and like everything's so different. It's like, this church is all pink. Why is it all pink? Everything is pink.
Is it like
That's
pink
funny.
marble or like painted or?
It was painted. It was a great church, man. It was a very like
Why
it
was
was a
it
very
pink?
friendly. I don't
Oh,
know.
you guys have never seen a pink church before?
It's kind of like salmon pink. Like it was. I don't know how
I
you
don't think
describe it. It was kind of like rounded at the front, and it was huge. And it was just like a normal sized church here, so like maybe would fit 400 people. But they had like 8 kids like helping to serve, and they had a deacon, which is like, for where I come from, like that's like, wow, you got a deacon, you know. And they had all kinds of like greeters at the door, and people were smiling and laughing before the mass. It's getting way better where I'm at, but yeah, no, it was a
Nice.
cool experience. Yeah, I love going to different churches. Next week I'll be at a different church in a small fishing village. I've been to it before, but it's so beautiful. It's really old, but it would fit maybe 100 people.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. I'm in 2017. I need to get to 2014. So we're just going to keep on cooking on.
Got this.
Are you just like scrolling? Like, how
I
does
don't
this
know how to
timeline thing work?
search. I don't know how to search a timeline on Facebook. So yeah, I am just scrolling.
Can't you just put in?
I don't know if Facebook has a very functional search feature, to be honest.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just put it on the timeline and then it just disappears.
Yeah. So Philip, what's your story? How did you come in? You said you were new.
So the Catholic Church, well, I wasn't affiliated with any church. I grew up in a Protestant church, and I don't know what I would assume it's like a type of Baptist church. Basically, was like when I was 12, like just basically checked out, because that's when they wanted us to be baptized. And I said, should I take this serious? And they said yes. And I said, okay, I'm not getting baptized because I don't believe any of this. And then I hung out with the youth group for quite a while because they had Karate for Christ, and that was really cool.
I love it.
Nice.
That's why this paintball for Jesus stuff was like, oh man, it's like I was in Karate for Christ. I say that, people don't believe me. But anyway, to fast forward, Peterson kind of opened up my eyes to the whole, like maybe Christianity isn't so stupid. Then I talked to some friends I had from way back in the church, and they're like, no, Peterson's the devil, Peterson's a heretic. And I'm like, okay, double bird to y'all. Like, really? Like, I'm saying I'm interested in religion, and now you're just saying don't listen to that guy. So I'm like, okay, all right, I'll go back asleep again for a while. And then this is a sad part. I'm fast forwarding through a lot. But the worst mass shooting in Canadian history was in my area, including two women that were murdered just down the road, like
Yeah.
Wow.
like 5-minute walk down the road. Really horrible. The guy had like a mock RCMP cop car and like uniform. He killed 23 people. So I was faced with extreme evil. So I thought there had to be extreme good on the other side. It shook me up that way. But I still wasn't ready for Christianity. So I explored being a Wiccan because I was also really into gardening. And I was on Instagram, and a lot of the gardeners were Wiccan or Wiccan kind of like adjacent. So I ended up setting up an idol in my garden, and I made a special flower garden for the victims in the area, kind of thing. And then, I mean, I did it seriously, but it was also kind of like ha ha ha, but also like, oh, I think I just made an idol. That's kind of weird, but whatever. I don't take anything serious. So then I thought, so this would be Christmas 2020. Where I work at a feed mill, and I work in a room all by myself, and so I can listen to whatever I want. And I was tired of listening to all the woke stuff, like anti-woke stuff. So I thought I'm going to play some Christmas carols. Like, what the heck? And it was the weirdest thing because I started hearing the Christian lyrics in the Christmas carols. And I don't know why that hit me at that time. Like, guys were coming in my room and it's like, have you heard these lyrics before? And I thought, okay, if I'm hearing stuff in Christmas carols, I wonder if I started listening to the Bible on YouTube. I started listening to the Bible on YouTube. Blew my mind. Like, I grew up with the Bible, but it was like the first time I heard it, and it was sinking in. Again, guys are coming into my room. It's like, have you ever listened to the Bible? It's really good.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So then I
That's awesome.
contacted one of my best friends, Clary. He's out in Vancouver. He's he's like Vanderclay in the same like denomination. So I said, I think I might want to become Christian. Maybe I at least want to go to church because I know you don't have to be Christian to go to a church. There's lots of Christians, but non-Christians that do. So anyway, because it's COVID, you could watch lots of different denominations online. And Catholic was not. It was like saying I'm going to become Jewish, become Catholic. You got to be born Catholic, right? I did out of curiosity watch a mass from the cathedral in Halifax. Didn't understand anything, then backed away from it. But then when I was researching Christianity, this did change after a while, but it seemed like all the adults in the room were Catholics. And all the peevish children were Protestants. No, it was actually good to find out that Catholics can be jerks too. That's okay. I can fit in.
Yeah.
I discovered Taylor Marshall, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
So they're in the church too. Anyway, so I, out of curiosity, I ordered the Catechism. No, not like the paragraph by paragraph one. It was United States Catechism for Adults, and it blew my mind. Like, made me weep when I was reading it. This blew my mind, and I was like, I think I have to go to a Catholic church. By then, I was swept up by the Holy Spirit. Like, there was a Holy Spirit moment at work. I mean, I work in a very dirty place, so I was listening to Jonathan Pageau, his talk with Peterson when Peterson came back. And there's one part in that video that's kind of like Peterson says something about if Christians actually acted like, or actually believed what they say they believe, like maybe I would, or something like that. And I thought, like, what if I actually believed, like really believed, and it was just whoosh. And I was done. I was done. Confused. Like, I thought I was going crazy. My wife's atheist. I talked to her that night, and I was like, okay, I know I'm kind of weird, and like I like to joke around a lot. I might be going insane. Like, I might actually be going insane. She's like, ha ha ha. I'm like, no. Like, you need to keep an eye on me. She's like, okay. So anyways, like 3 weeks later, it's like we always go on morning walks. And it's like, I'm gonna say something to you. You're probably gonna hear quite a bit from now on. They're like, okay, hit me with it. I'm like, I love Jesus. And she goes, what? It's like, I love Jesus. And I think I'm going to become Catholic. So anyway, it took a while between like the COVID shutdowns to get to one. And it was the first week after after Easter, the first Easter Sunday.
Oh.
Sorry, Eric, I'll speed this up. Anyway, went to a mass, loved it, fell in love with the Catholic Church. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's it. I wanted you to talk over that image, actually.
Oh, okay.
That's a really great story. Thank you.
The first homily I heard, actually, it was a person that was Catholic, a friend, a wife of a friend, took me to my first mass at a parish in Dartmouth, and the homily was on mercy, and that was my biggest thing about becoming Christian. I didn't think I could be forgiven, and I couldn't accept mercy because I knew mercy meant death. It meant I had to die. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I knew it would be the end of me and something different. And that homily was, talking about homilies where something hits you, that the poor woman that brought me, I mean, I'm crying throughout the homily. Not really crying, but for me, especially back then,
Right.
tear rolling down the cheek.
You got tears.
A single manly tear. Yeah. Well, I mean, mercy does mean death, but it doesn't have to mean your death. For us, it means the death of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who, because he was life itself, rose from the dead on the third day. And so, that's where I get to worship every morning. So
it's beautiful.
Nice.
Wow.
That's a really pretty altar.
Yeah. And so that's Melchizedek and Abraham and Jesus and the apostles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Gotta love some nice subtle parallels.
Yeah, really subtext right there, you know. You gotta read between the lines to find that.
How big is the chapel? Like, how many people would be in it?
If you were to fill it, 20 people would be a lot.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So anyway, if any of you ever come visit me in Fargo, you're more than welcome to check it out. Phil,
Here's the funny thing.
Thanks for sharing the whole story.
Yeah, sure.
I've never heard it from the beginning. I picked you up. I kind of picked you up in the middle of it. You know, you'd already got the catechism at that point, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't mind sharing. It's a little bit different each time. Like, it's the same thing, but there's like different parts to pick out. Like, when I joined the Knights of Columbus, they like you to stand up and introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And I had 5 minutes. So at 5 minutes, I cut off my story, and they're all screaming, "No, keep going."
I love it.
It's an interesting story.
Okay.
That
It's
was
so
good.
good to go
Oh,
from
yeah.
an introvert to love talking to people and loving people, and like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Freaks out my wife. She's still like, we're out walking, and like people are walking by, and like, "Hi, how you doing?" She's like,
Yeah.
Oh, come on now. In Canada, that's perfectly normal behavior.
Well, kind of, but I was just so, I guess, yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's some couple personality theories on that. Yeah. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's very good.
Alrighty. Well, I've had a long weekend, and we've been live for over 2 hours.
Sleep.
It's been delightful to talk to you guys. Nice to finally meet you, Colin.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
finally dragged him in.
Yeah, Colin. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you guys have a good night. God bless, and hopefully I'll see you next week.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
week.
Bye bye.
Bye.